Hello, my name is John Fortman and I'm an attorney in St. Louis, Missouri. I concentrate my practice on representing franchisees against franchisors in disputes that arise because of fraud or failure of the franchisor to comply with the requirements of the franchise agreement. I wanted to do this video for those of you who are considering buying into a franchise system, because I think many of the things that we see in our cases can be used as learning tools for those of you who are looking into buying into a franchise. The first thing you need to keep in mind is that a franchise relationship is not a partnership. It's not, there is no guarantee from the franchisor that you will succeed. So it's very important going into this that you adequately investigate the franchise system, the opportunity, to make sure it's a good fit for you, and to make sure that the franchisor is committed to fulfilling its obligations under the franchise agreement. Now, when you identify a franchise that you're interested in and you contact them, most of the time they will send you some information about the franchise. Now keep in mind, this is marketing material. They are looking to sell you a franchise, and the information you get will be geared towards making them appear as good as possible to a prospective buyer. So you need to approach it in the same way that you would if you were buying a house or a car or anything else that will require substantial investment of money and time. Now, once you get that information and you let them know that you're interested, many times they will have a discovery day. And a discovery day is when they get prospective franchisees into their corporate headquarters so that they can talk to you face to face. You can meet some of the principals in the franchisor and get answers to some of your questions. But once again, it's a marketing opportunity for them to get you face to face, and sometimes you'll find that that they use high pressure sales tactics. Once again, you need to protect yourself in that situation. Do not sign anything, do not agree to anything until you are convinced in your own heart that this is the right thing to do. Once you have express that interest, they're required to send you a franchise disclosure document. This document can be anywhere from 30 pages to a couple hundred pages, depending on the franchise. And that is an important document because what it contains is background information about the franchise and your expected costs to buy in and to operate your franchise. It will contain information about litigation against the franchisor or by the franchisor against the franchisee. It will contain the identity of the current franchisees and any former franchisees who have left the system. It will tell you how many franchise units have been sold over the past 5 years. It'll tell you any franchises that have been transferred from one franchisee to another. And so it's a wealth of information that will give you a good starting point in your investigation. Now the other very important tool that we have now for investigating franchises is the internet. There are numerous sites out there that now track complaints from franchisees. One of the best known sites is called unhappyfranchisee.com, and I'll put that link in the description of this video. But they provide a service in that they track franchises where the franchisees are unhappy and are having a lot of problems. And so there are numerous places on the internet to investigate franchises anymore. Now the other thing you want to do is contact as many of the current franchises and the former franchises as you can. Some of them will be open to talking to you, some of them may not be, but you need to know from the current franchisees and the past franchisees. What are the problems with the system that they see? What are the benefits? Are they satisfied? Does the franchisor provide the services that they said they would? Are they making the money that they thought they would make in the system? They may not share their financials with you, but what you want to know is, what is the mood among the franchisees? And if you just call the franchisees given to you by the franchisor, you're not going to get a complete picture. And so the most important thing you can do is get all the information you can independently about that franchise. Don't rely on the franchisor to give you all of the information you're going to use to make the decision. The other thing that is in that franchise agreement, or the franchise disclosure document, is a range of figures as to what it will cost to buy, open, and run the franchise for the first 90 days. And one of the main disputes that we have in our cases is that the range that they give you as to those operating costs are inaccurate. And they're inaccurate a lot of times in that they underestimate the total costs. So don't be afraid to ask the franchisor what information they use to come up with those numbers. For example, we had a case where the franchisor used the first 5 locations which were owned by the franchisor as the basis for those numbers. And then they did not track the success of the franchisees after that. They just built in a certain increase in the cost based on some estimate, which was not based in any fact. So you need to be very, very careful when looking at that range of costs, and build in a reserve over and above that for unforeseen kinds of circumstances that can arise. You must have enough working capital to be able to operate long enough to be able to break even and turn a profit. That's one of the things that I would recommend that you always ask a potential franchisor is, what do they do to track the success of the franchisees? Do they get financial information on a regular basis? Are they out there talking to these people? Do they visit them? Exactly what do they do to make sure that this is a successful franchise system? Because if they're not tracking what's happening with the franchisees, they're not visiting them, they're not talking to them, then that should be a big red flag, and you should move on to the next franchise opportunity. Because the important thing for you from the franchisor, the important thing that you need from them is some assurance that they have some vested interest in your success. And if they're not out there making sure that their current franchisees are taken care of, and they're just concentrating on selling as many franchises as they can, then that is a recipe for disaster. And we've seen it over and over again. So make sure that the franchisor is engaged and is keeping track of the success of the existing franchises, and ask them questions, all sorts of questions. Write out the list of questions. There's not too many questions to ask, and if you get a franchisor that is pressuring you and doesn't want to answer those questions, then move on to the next franchise. Those franchises that are out there that are successful and have been out there a long time are constantly visiting the franchisees, constantly in communication with them, giving them tips, helping them with operational problems that may arise. And they're not just saying, okay, I've sold you the franchise, now it's 100% up to you to make it succeed. While your success is ultimately up to you, you bought into a franchise system for a reason. And that reason was you wanted something that was proven. You didn't want to reinvent the wheel. And so it's important that the franchisor explain to you exactly what they do to assist you so that you can be successful, to give you the best chance of success. Now, one of the things that you need to be careful about is earnings claims. Now, going in, your biggest question is going to be, how much can I make out of this? You know, if you're looking at investing, leaving your job and buying into a franchise, you want to know, hey, can I replace the income I'm giving up, and how long will it take me to do that? Now, franchisors may not want to give you that information, and that's okay, because if they are quick to give you that information, you need to be careful because you should be able, based upon the numbers that they give you and based upon everything else available to you, you should be able to do your own math and kind of get an idea as to what kind of volume and business you need to be able to turn a profit. They can give you some of the background numbers and things like that, but many franchisors are very reluctant to give that information. However, a lot of times salesmen, the salesperson for the franchisor will tell you, hey, you know, I'm not really supposed to tell you this, but yeah, you'll be breaking even in 6 months. If they tell you that, ask them how they know that. Ask for the background. And if they can't give it to you, then you cannot rely on that information. And so overall, I think, you know, a lot of this is common sense, but I think many times in the excitement of getting into business for themselves, potential franchisees cut corners in their investigation. And that's the worst time to do that. Keep in mind and keep a suspicion about you that the franchisor is there to sell you the franchise. And they're going to put it in the best possible light because they want you to sign the franchise agreement and they want to have franchise fee. So do your due diligence, take whatever time you need, and you know, there may be a situation where you go all the way down the line and you figure out at the last minute that you don't feel comfortable with it. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, trust your gut. A lot of times your gut instinct is the right thing, and I can't tell you how many times we see people come in who say, you know, I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel it was right when I did it, but I went ahead and signed it. And then they're coming to us after they've lost a lot of money. So look at this the same way as if you were going to start your own business without a franchise. You know, look at all the work you need to do all the investigation you need to do, talk to your municipality, talk to the town you're in, see what requirements they have, and you know, be very, very cautious about what you're doing, because buying into a franchise does not guarantee you success. And there's McDonald's that fail. There's failures in every franchise system. However, the more you investigate, the better chance you have of finding a franchise that's right for you and being successful in that franchise. Now, the other big problem that we see is once you decide to buy into a franchise, they pressure you into buying another location. And sometimes they pressure you before you even open up the first one. Don't let them do that to you. Because you need to feel comfortable in what you're doing. And if you've never been in this kind of industry that you're buying into, or you've never been in business for yourself, caution is really the word. You need to be very, very cautious, and you need to be very careful. So the only other thing I would say is don't try to do this without talking to an attorney who is well versed in franchise law. You know, I know there's a lot of costs involved with getting a franchise, buying it, and opening it up, but the one thing you don't want to scrimp on is getting adequate advice. and I would get advice from your accountant and your attorney. And you know, it's not that expensive, and an attorney who is in this area of law can look at most franchise agreements and give you the advice, and can get answers to questions that you may have by contacting the franchisor. So I hope you find this helpful. We'll do some more specific videos as we go along, but I wish you the best of luck, and you know, your success depends on you, just like anything else. And you know, don't let that excitement cloud your judgment. You know, and that is really the lesson for the day. So I hope you find this helpful. Feel free to contact us. Our contact information will be in the video or in the description of the video, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. Thank you.